Hey, welcome to episode 127, Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, you're going to hear things like, movie making in your classroom, and about storytelling saves the world. And, some summer recommendations for PD for yourself. And, there's some other good stuff in here. So take a listen, and I'm glad that you're here. So tell a friend and bring them along and have them sit down and listen to Fresh Air at 5, possibly episode 127. All right, without further ado, here we go.
I'm Chris Stutchko, co-host of the 9th Grade Experience podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAt5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey, PLN. June 19, 2023. Happy birthday to my wife. It's her birthday day today. We went out for birthday party day on Saturday, and my goodness, did we have some fun. It was a good time with our friends, and we laughed, and I think we might have cried for a moment because we were laughing so hard. So good. So happy birthday, Wendy. Love you so much. And yes, I'm proud of my wife and all that she does. So yes. Okay, this morning as I'm walking, I listened to episode 185 of Teaching Champions podcast with Brian Martin. And Brian brings us an interview that he has with Jessica Pack, who is an author, a storyteller, and an educator for a number of years. And she's just got some great ideas about storytelling and video making in classrooms, all the way down even into kindergarten, and how to make that happen. So it's fantastic to hear her story as she shares about movie making and what it takes to make movies. She's the author of Movie Making in the Classroom, and so you can find that book. Look up Jennifer Pack. She's part of the ISTE community, does trainings at ISTE. So that's coming up this next week in Philadelphia. And she loves to share stories. Things that she talks about in this podcast is, the golden share, where the teacher gets vulnerable a little bit with her students and shares a bit about themselves to provide some context for, I'd like you to share about something that's significant to you and emotional to you. We don't want kids to dig deep and talk about the hardest things, maybe. Well, maybe we do. I don't know, but there's probably a safe space to do so in that, so the golden share, talking about, being brave and trying it even when you're not the expert in the space with all of the technology that kids have in their hands. Do you have to provide all the technology? Some places you do, others you don't. And then also the community around us and making sure that we are connected beyond our classroom walls. All right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Jessica. Have a good day. The last thing for June 19, 2023, I was walking along and I listened to episode 4.11 of Prairie Rose Possibilities as my friend Cammie Cannikins headed out to Irvine Schools in Alberta to talk to Nicole Neubacher of the Irvine Schools Agricultural Discovery Center, and she's a champion of that program that's going on there in this K-9 school in Alberta, and how it's an all-school, mostly middle school, like middle school age students, grades 5 and 6 as well, and how they are learning about agriculture and all the various facets of agriculture, and how being engaged in agriculture, there's many different opportunities and jobs. And what's it take to be a farmer? What's it take to provide food? What's it take to provide machinery and technology so that farmers can do their jobs and bring food to the table for us? It was pretty exciting to hear about this program that has an opportunity to share beyond with the schools from Medicine Hat, the high schools that come out to see and get a touch of more of agriculture. You know, I find it fascinating, Cammie, that in a space of agriculture all around, that the agricultural education that I see going on in Prairie Rose in the various schools through your podcast that you're sharing, you know, not everybody wants to be a farmer. And I get that, because this is where I grew up, and I want to go to the big city and I'm going to go be a filmmaker or a chef or things like that. But providing a spark of interest that, you know, students can have some direction and have a connection so that when they hit high school and the learning becomes more pigeonholed, that they understand why, like Nicole said, they need Chemistry 12 to be able to get into a certain program that'll provide them some opportunity. All right, fantastic. Take a listen, be inspired, because I was. All right, bye. Hey PLN, it is June 21st, 2021. Happy spring to you. No, happy summer to you. We've passed summer solstice, I think. You know, it's been so busy, I haven't even checked to see what time that happened or is happening. It could be happening today. But anyhow, we're right at the cusp of a new season according to the lunar calendar. And so yes, exciting. This morning as I'm walking, I'm reflecting on the week, and we had grad let yesterday. We had at our school, we had 13 graduates out of our graduating class of 27 come to school for our ceremony. And it was just a nice, wonderful time. I had the privilege of emceeing, and our team put on a pretty nice little show, and families came and cheered and tossed a tassel and things like that. It was fantastic. All right, so this morning as I'm walking, I listened to a New to Me podcast from a listen that I had with Brian Martin on Teaching Champions recently, as he was talking then with Jessica Pack. And so Jessica and Georgia, her co-host, have a podcast called Storytelling Saves the World. And it's about movie making and about ways of telling story in our classrooms and the projects that we can use to do so. It's not just about movies, but mainly, yes, it's only about movies, because movies are fast moving. Like this thing right here, you know, I'm walking and telling you a story about what I'm learning about. You know, I could even just maybe write a blog, and for me that'd be boring, or I could, you know, send an email and tell someone. But this way I'm walking down the road, you're walking with me, and you get to see and hear my thoughts. So maybe they're more random. I need to storyboard this thing, Jessica and Georgia. So as I'm walking today, listen to season 4, episode 4, as you talked with Margie Orantes out of Southern California. And she is an English language, she's a language teacher, world language teacher, and teaches Spanish to high school students. All right, I'm running out of time right now. I'll be right back. Just 1 second. One more thing for June 21st, 2023. Continuing my thoughts about Storytelling Saves the World, Season 4, Episode 4, as Jessica and Georgia are talking with Margie Orantes about how she uses movie making in her language class, like her Spanish class, with students in Southern California. And she talks about how the difference between the native language speakers and the not native language speakers of Spanish are learning, and how they do different projects, and giving them choice in doing those projects, those video projects, so that they can express their understanding about vocabulary. My daughter's been taking Spanish this past year at high school in grade 9, and it's fun to hear how she's learning about language, and how we demonstrate that, is an important part of our learning. what do we do? Do we just learn so that we can write it down on a test? Or do we learn so that we can actually go practice it? Or do we learn so we can teach somebody else? And making movies is a way of teaching others about what we are learning about, because they're going to be able to watch it later. We're going to be able to sit down and review what we learned later. So it's more of a staying means of us knowing, because there's a record that's a different kind of record than maybe writing it on a test or writing an essay or something like that. Other forms of media are important, but this is, I think, a great idea. I like what you had to say, Margie, about giving the students choice and about giving them, creative constraints, and then they can do what they like. And students aren't used to that because they've grown their whole lives with, constraints on everything that they do, everything that they have to do, and providing them the opportunity to make some choices, I think is great. I do that in my media design classes. We do some projects on, how does PowerPoint work? And recently, a colleague of mine shared an idea I was like, I don't know what to do today. She's like, hey, have them make a random facts video about something, or not a video, but a presentation. So they had the choice of whatever they wanted to talk about that's school appropriate, and they had to make slides and things like that. All right, Jessica, Margie, and Georgia, have a fabulous day. Okay, bye. The last thing for June 21st, 2023. At the top of this, I want to just say that I did some research between the last segment and this segment and found out that summer solstice here in British Columbia starts at 7:57 a.m. this morning. That's when summer solstice is, and summer begins at that time. So I didn't miss it. Thankfully, I didn't miss it. So it's not on the 20th like sometimes it is. It moves around. And so happy summer in 2 hours from now. All right, on episode 4.12 of Prairie Rose Possibilities, I listened to Cami Cannikins talk about the Prairie Rose Possibilities project going on at South Central High School in Oyen, Alberta, with Sarah Hagan, who is the project champion of the Know and Grow project. She teaches in the school, and as an option, they have an opportunity to grow plants. They have repurposed a biology room that has in-floor drains and things like that so that they can water freely and grow plants, and built a greenhouse actually in a classroom in a school, in a laboratory, which is pretty cool. You don't have to be outside to have a greenhouse. And so they are demonstrating that you can grow salad materials, basil, spider plants in this middle school space. And the students go in and have to be responsible for the different parts of the growing. And they've got tower gardens, and they've got probably hydroponics in there and things. And it's about opportunity for students to get their hands dirty in the dirt and to touch the plants. So yes, very cool to hear, and very exciting how you have partnerships in the community, Sarah, and your students get to see how things are. And then the demonstration of learning that just happened, you said, incorporates more than just agriculture. It incorporates media, marketing, telling stories, communicating, and being a leader. All right, that's all I got. Happy Wednesday, Cami and Sarah. Have a good day. Bye. Hey, PLN, June 22, 2023. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Didn't get out for my walk early this morning, but I'm out here now, and thankful that I got to get some steps in before my workday starts. So I had to drop my truck off at the garage, and I decided to walk back across town instead of getting a ride. So that's a healthy choice, and I get my podcast listening and my reflections. So hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. This morning I listened to episode 62 of the Evolving with Gratitude podcast with Lainey Rowell, and she has on guest James Miyashiro. And correction, David Miyashiro. He is the superintendent of the Cajon Valley Unified School District in Southern California. And it was curious to hear how they have a mission statement that talks about happy kids, healthy relationships, and gainful employment, and talking about, all those things that are so important outside of academic test scores and things like that make us human, make us who we are. And thank you so much, James, for sharing that with Lainey. Lainey, it was great to hear the two of you talk and reflect on these goals of the vision statement. It's food for thought as we plan and look at school plans and vision statements and things like that, and how we care for our kids. We say it's important, but at the end of the day, do our vision statements reflect those things, or are they more political and sterile and scores, standardized test scores and things like that? So important to consider. Take a listen to this if you have time, and don't make time to listen to this, because James and Lainey have some great conversations about these various aspects. So cool to hear, and I'm glad to hear that during the pandemic at the beginning stages, you guys were brave and opened your doors and allowed students to come because of the essential work of education in our society. All right, that's all I got. Have a great day. Bye. Hey, PLN, June 23, 2023. Welcome to Friday. Here we are. It's the last Friday of June of my school year, and I hope it's, if you're not out of school yet, that this is the last of your Friday for you as well. ISTE's just around the corner. I'm not going to ISTE. I'd like to go to ISTE. Never been to ISTE, but yes, it's just around the corner. A bunch of my buds on Twitter are going, and I'm excited for them about that. I've got lots to do around here, some pro-D to do, and some coursework prep for the next year. And I'm also teaching summer session at my school, so supporting students through the month of July. And we are almost a week in to our learning there. All right. This morning, as I'm walking, I listened to episode 140 of Got Tech, the podcast, as Eric Geis and Nick Johnson bring us some summer pro-D ideas of things that we can do in the summer that don't necessarily require us to go anywhere. We got 6 recommended podcasts. We have 6 books that are recommended and 6 ed tech tools that they are going to be checking out. So no, these are things the guys are going to be checking out, but not necessarily that you have to check out. So take a look, and it's important, I believe, that during our downtime that we don't fill it with nothingness, but we are learning something. I do listen to podcasts through the summer on my morning walks, so I'm going to keep on doing that. And books, I got Matt Miller's AI book, so I need to jump into that and review and get into that, because that's actually significant and relevant. And I've got other educational books that I should pull off my shelf and dig into. The few that I have over the years have really made a difference, and I bought a lot of books but haven't necessarily read them. All right, that's all I got. It's been a really full week. I'm glad I got up this morning for my walk. It's a beautiful sunrise behind me. Saw it first thing. The sun was coming up just around 5 o'clock. All right, have a good day. Happy Friday. Bye. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself, because you're worth it.